Hello and welcome to the 85th gathering of the Adventure Party on the 14th of January, 2018. We've gotten there. It's 2018 finally. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and have your smart device at the ready before you are gathered at the meeting table. We have guests. It's been a while since we've had guests, but guests we do have. And one of the guests that we have is a former person that we've talked to. Well, not a former person. He is a live person who will be talking to us. It is Adam. And Adam, we talked to you about gaming conventions.
Yeah, we did a conversation about gaming conventions a couple of years back, as I used to run a gaming convention locally, a small one, and have, as it turns out, now started to run one again. Actually, this past June, I started a small convention called the Tabletop Minions Expo, and the Tabletop Minions Expo is just about wargaming and that kind of stuff. And I'll be doing it again coming up, actually, June 9th and 10th, 2018 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So nice. I'm back into the game as far as that's concerned. Otherwise, normally I'm a YouTuber. I have a channel called Tabletop Minions, strangely enough.
Yes. And I was just going to mention that Adam has and will provide that link for you guys to check out his YouTube channel. And Adam reviews games, talks about games.
Predominantly tabletop wargaming. I pretty much talk about miniatures games.
Yep.
I talk about painting and tutorials, and I talk about inspirational stuff, how to keep your motivation up. Keeping your motivation for painting is probably one of the most difficult things for a lot of painters. So that's what I talk a lot about.
Yeah, I've been helping a friend of mine paint his Massive Darkness figures that he got in on the Kickstarter and got in at a level where they just broke so many of their stretch goals that he now has a metric ton of figures to paint. So we've been slowly kind of trying to get through that.
I've seen a lot of pictures of people opening up humongous boxes for Massive Darkness because a lot of them got into some pretty big stretch goals. So yeah, there's a lot of unpainted plastic out there right now just after this most recent Kickstarter.
Oh, dear Lord, don't even get me started.
Yeah. Poor Glenn. We're just gonna have to go to your house, Glenn, and set up some airbrushes and and by we I mean find about 20 people and try to just sit down and pound through and help you paint.
That would be only about 40 minis each with 20 people.
Actually, at the speed that I paint miniatures, I get detailed, but it takes forever. It's sad.
It's kind of a thing where I've found that that's one of the benefits to keeping at it, is that as you keep painting, you kind of hit a plateau and then you just start getting faster. You don't necessarily get a ton better sometimes, but you do start getting faster. I've noticed that I've gotten faster over the last year or so. So that's kind of nice, actually. That's a goal to go for. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And not to leave the other person out here, that other person is Matt Ridley. And Matt Ridley is a computer programmer who I've known since 2003, 2002.
Yeah, somewhere on there.
Yeah. Now, I still work for Midwest Communications, and Matt was one of our programmers that helped us keep our website stuff going and developing new systems for our intranet and for our websites. And he moved on to bigger and better things. And that bigger and better thing that he has teamed up with Adam to do is created an app called GameFor. And Matt reached out to me, and we've kind of talked about having him and Adam come on and talk about this app. And it's really kick-ass. It's an app that allows, well, I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to have the guys tell you about it. And do it far better than I would. But I played around with the app, and I really dig it. And I think that you will too.
Good. Yeah, so about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, my main business partner Jason and I, and our third business partner Joel, we were kind of coming together. Jason and I had spun off our own business. Joel was looking at getting into the business with us. We were doing mobile app development as a standalone company by ourselves. Looked at was that we didn't want to just be working for everybody else. We wanted to start producing our own products. So we each kind of came up with a list of like 2 or 3 products that, maybe we could, refine, come up with. And the one that really stood out to us at the time, Jason and I were really into X-Wing, playing X-Wing tournaments. But finding an X-Wing player, especially during the week or during a non-tournament play, was next to impossible. And, other than going on Facebook and having 5,000 people from 200 miles away ping you and say that, hey, if you can be at my store 200 miles away in 15 minutes, I might play with you. Like, I hope that, and I don't know who you are, but I'm sure you're a nice guy too. Just felt there had to be a better way. So that's kind of where GameFor started, was trying to find a way for us to find games ourselves and find other gamers, other game events. And through that, we've kind of taken it to, local gaming stores. We want to get people into the stores, meeting with each other, and really just kind of help the community grow. Adam came along about 9 months into kind of the seedlings of GameFor, and we were able to take a lot of his knowledge, and actually he's now our ambassador for the product. So
nice.
But overall, yeah, we've been working about 2 years before we went live finally a few weeks ago. We're kind of in the soft launch phase, but we're just about to start turning the floodgates really on. So.
Yeah, and there have been other apps before that have kind of, I don't want to say attempted this, but other apps that have been out there already that have kind of done things along this line, trying to connect tabletop gamers. With video gamers, it's very easy to connect with other multiplayer. Sure. You just hit the multiplayer button, and then it hooks you up with some people in France and some people in Britain and whatever, and then you're playing a game. With tabletop, that's always the most difficult part, is finding people in your area to actually sit across the table from you and play. So what we wanted to do was to make that a little bit easier. The problem is that a lot of other apps that we saw that came before us were really focusing on, when we tell people about what we're doing, the first thing that people always say to us is, oh, so it's kind of like Tinder for gamers. And we say, no, it's not, because, well, for a lot of reasons, but for one big reason, gamers have a tendency to be kind of, and we all know this, we're all a bit introverted to some degree.
What?
So it's true. But if you went to something like Gen Con and it was just a giant room of people standing around, and then people kind of had to make some friends and figure out what they were going to play, it'd never fly. When you go to a gaming convention, there's a program that says, we're going to play this game at this table at this time. And then the people come together on the games and not just trying to find each other. Some of the other apps that we've seen in the past were like, well, here's the gamers who live near you. Why don't you make some friends? Which is kind of the wrong way to do it. So what we're doing, our app is kind of threefold. We're looking at game events that are near you, and most of those game events are going to come from stores initially, because right now, if you want to find out what games what kind of events they're having at this store, it might be on their webpage, but this store puts it on their Facebook, and this store puts it on Google Calendar or whatever. Yep. So we want to try to bring those together. But then the other big thing is what's called looking for players. And looking for players is basically the virtual version of those 3x5 cards on the cork board at the game store, saying, hey, we're looking for a cleric, on Thursday nights, or that kind of stuff. And so that's not an event so much as it is, I like to play this game, and this game, and I like to play at these stores. Send me a message. So it's not exactly the just make friends. It's, again, leading with the games and saying, hey, look, here's the games I want to play. If you want to play those games as well, we have at least that in common. And then the last big portion of it is the store finder, which currently, Matt, I think we have 5,800 stores worldwide.
I think we're still around 5,800.
Right.
Adding more as people turn them in. So people that, if they're using the app, they didn't find their friendly local gaming store, even if they're a store owner and their store for some reason got missed at our initial rounds, ping us, let us know. We try to get them up within a day or two, and just expand our list so that really every store that or place that people want to game at is in our app. So.
Right, because right now, if you as a person want to make an event and you want to make it so that something, maybe you're going to play a Magic draft or whatever. Currently, you have to pick a store. You couldn't just invite strangers to your house because there's a whole host of issues that can go on with that.
Yeah, yep.
So that's going to come eventually once we've got some reporting and blocking and different kind of privacy features kind of dialed in before that. But right now, if you want to have a bunch of people to play Catan and you want a board game night at your local store, you just say, I want to do this and have it at the store and it's ready to go. We are just about to start giving stores access to the app themselves. Like I said, like Matt said, we're in a soft launch right now where we've just launched it. We're looking for bugs. We're finding some people are helping us out, giving us feedback. And what we're looking for next, and like I said, the big next step, which would be potentially this week, maybe, or next.
We're basically ready to go.
Okay. We're going to basically open up the taps and say, look, if you're a store, contact us. We're going to verify that you're who you say you are very quickly. And then we'll give you access to a store portal, which will allow you to put your events in there, modify the listing that you have in our database. So you can put in your hours and a description of your store and a picture and a profile image and all that kind of stuff. And then that's going to really expand things and make the app a lot bigger than it currently is. Like I said, right now we've been kicking the tires. So.
And I got to
go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
No,
it'll also turn on messaging in the app so that users and stores can actually connect with one another. So,
correct.
Maybe that Friday nights are Midnight Magic. Everyone knows Friday Night Magic usually rule the stores, but maybe there's some room for you and your buddies to play a game of Descent over in the corner. So you can message the store, find out if it's cool for you guys to hang out, and rather than just blindly showing up or just wandering and not coming to the store. So.
And I gotta say, I've been kind of playing around with the app, and I always loved you, Matt, and I knew that you would make a good app that when the time came. And by God, if this is, I know people can't really see this too well, so I would encourage you to. And it's available in the iTunes store, and it's also available in Google Play. And you can download it right now.
It's been up for a couple weeks, actually.
Excellent. And I've just been looking through it, and it is very easy to maneuver through. It is very well laid out.
Well, good.
And immediately, as soon as I went into Store Finder, two of the shops that are in my area just immediately showed up. So you guys have been really getting the word out there and getting game stores into this system, which is awesome.
Yeah, that took a lot of, frankly, it took a lot of axe sharpening actually to kind of get that list together. And it came from a lot of different places. But it's also now, since we've kind of done our soft launch, I mean, I've talked about the app a little bit on my YouTube channel on the live shows that I do usually every other Sunday. And so that's where a lot of our current 11 or 1,200 registered users at this point already have kind of, where a lot of them heard about it. And so they're either saying, hey, there's this store that's not in the database that's near me, or I am the store owner and I'm not in the database. And so we've been getting a lot of feedback about that, and that's been great. But yeah, it's really been quite, everything's been working out pretty well with it so far. And we have a pretty long roadmap actually of what we want to do next, like where things are coming from and where things are going.
Yeah,
first part was making it easy to use and nail the basics. We wanted it so that people, we had to have that foundation. Like we said, stores is next, and then right after that, friends and groups, privacy settings, private events. That's kind of that whole bundle is really our next big goal. And then we've got a whole roadmap after that we're gonna keep following, and also take user feedback that might, as people use it, it's gonna become their app and make it work for them. So,
and again, me knowing Matt, and granted we haven't hung out a lot in the past few years because of distance, but you were always really good at mapping things out That's one thing that I remembered, especially about some of the intranet functionality and the roadmaps that you guys put together. And that is really reassuring to know that you have not just created an app and you're just going to let it sit there, that you're looking to add functionality and that you have a plan. And
Yep. We've got whiteboards just filled with plans.
And there are some apps that sometimes you download and they never update, they never change, they never improve how you can maneuver through the app, or doesn't add anything at all or anything worthwhile. And it's good to know that that's not the case here. And I was just kind of flipping through, and just so people understand, this isn't just for like board gaming. It's also for, pencil and paper RPGs. It's for gaming in general.
We're aiming at the 4 main genres. So it's going to be board gaming, CCGs, RPGs, and miniature wargaming, which is kind of my area. And so we want to make sure that, and the thing is about the app that's also interesting is we know that some people play a lot of different things and some people are very specific. So we've got filtering built in. And as the app grows and as more and more people put things in there, you could say, you know what, I'm not interested in CCGs at all. And there's just a simple tap on the bottom that says, I don't want to see anything that's any events related to CCGs, and it will take them out of your feed. And then anytime you can just say, well, all right, fine, I'll look at a little bit of Magic. And then you can bring it back in, and it's very quick and simple. It's right down there at the bottom. You can also change the radius. So you can say, well, right now you've got a premium, because we're so new, you do have to kind of open up the radius to see certain events. But as we get more and more stuff into the ecosystem, you'll be able to fine tune that radius and drop it down, and then find out, like, just in specific areas what's going on. You can also put in your location. So if you were deciding you were going to travel to, I don't know, like Beverly Hills, then you could go in and punch in 90210, because that's the only zip code beside my own that I know. But you could do that, and then find out what game stores are in the area, find out what events they might be having, and all that kind of stuff. If you're going to travel someplace, right now, like when I first started trying to figure out how many stores we had within 50 miles, or was it 100 miles of where our offices are, I had to use Google and Facebook and a bunch of different other it's a ton of different things. We want to make it very simple for people to be able to find the stores they need to find, and make it quick and easy. Facebook is great. Obviously, it's 2 billion users or whatever, but a lot of people, we keep hearing from people, I hear from people all the time, the only reason I use Facebook anymore is just so I can keep it with my gaming group. Otherwise, I'd get out of it. And so, I think there's definitely a need for this app in that kind of situation.
Yeah. Like you say, it's hard to get introverts to advertise where they're going to be and gaming, and having multiple platforms to be able to do that. And not, and quite honestly, Facebook has, as much as I like some of the things about Facebook, things that have been going on with the news feed, you're not necessarily going to see things that, are relevant to you. It's just like your friends. That's the one thing that I don't like about it, is now it's become so hyper focused.
Yeah. The algorithm is very odd, and we don't really have any kind of algorithm. We're going to show you what's closest to you and put it in a chronological order. So the thing that's at the top of the list is the thing that's probably happening today, and then we'll go down from there. And if there's multiple things happening in the same day at the same time, then they're based off of distance. So because it's a mobile-centric platform, we're really only designing it for mobile apps. It's designed to take, to keep track of where you are. You can either turn on location services, or if you're not into that, you can just punch in a zip code. You can make it not use location services. So we've got both those options.
Or a city name for those without a postcode.
Right, exactly. That was kind of an initial issue, was that we had it set up kind of a little bit American-centric, because initially we were only planning on launching it in the United States, and then people from other countries were like, I can't punch in my zip code because I don't have a zip code. And then we switched the way it works, and now you can just punch in Paris, France, and it will say, well, Paris, France, or Paris, Tennessee, or Paris, Texas, and then you can just pick the one you want. And that works a lot better, actually. And so we've been getting tons of good response based off of that very quick change that happened like a week or two ago.
And that almost reminds me, Matt, of the first system that was created for creating like accounts and things like that on Midwest. Is we had the whole zip code thing, and then we got emails from, hey, I'm from the UK.
Right.
This is like 2003.
So back end was ready for it. We just the front end, we were trying to get it out to the stores. We were kind of behind where we wanted to be. So we had told the guys, it's okay. We're just going to be in probably just Wisconsin the first month or two. Put it in for just the postcode. The back end can handle it later, but let's just do this. And then last minute, a bunch of things came up, and we decided that we would give the soft launch to everybody. And we knew that was going to be a sticking point right away, and so that was like our number one effort to switch it around. So we appreciate everybody that kind of like was patient and allowed us to kind of get that in. So it definitely wasn't a slight, and we knew it was coming. It just happens when it happens. But yeah, I remember that at the radio station. We weren't prepared for that, and we had lots of fun getting around that one.
Yeah, this is work related, but it was such a house of cards in that back end with what we were given, and then what you guys had to build on top of that house of cards. I felt so bad for you guys, like every day having to deal. Quick story.
Yeah, single server in the basement. We had no cloud. We walked over to our cloud and reset it a couple times a day. And back in our day.
Yeah, back in my day. No, like 2012. 2010. I hired somebody, and they looked at that ASP like for the pages, and they're like, oh, we want to fix stuff and make CSS more prevalent. And I'm like, oh, I wanted to pat them on the heads, but I knew that there would probably be paperwork involved from HR. And she admitted to me, she's like, I looked at that code and I cried, and I said, you know what, that just makes me realize how good of a programmer and web designer you are, that you see how horrible this is, how horribly broken it is, and that. So I know I hired the right person. It was absolute millstone around our necks. Anyways, moving back to good programming here. What would you say is the next thing that you would like to flip the switch on?
One of the next things we're going to flip the switch on is going to be groups and clubs. We've already had several people reach out to us and say, how do I set this up to work with my club, my gaming group? Over in the UK, at least in wargaming, clubs are a big deal, because there's not as many game stores, it seems, that actually have places to play. So what happens is a group of wargamers will get together, and they'll all pay dues and pool their money, and they will rent like a storefront or some sort of whatever, and then keep their terrain there and keep their tables and all that. So they have these clubs, and the place is open 3 nights a week or something like that, or however they do it, which we don't really do over here in America for the most part. So we have to be very cognizant that different parts of the world play games very differently than, say, everyone here in America. So that being said, there are still plenty of gaming clubs in America. I know, like around the Oshkosh Appleton area, there's at least 2 or 3 different board gaming clubs that are, something that and those clubs currently are using software like sometimes like Meetup, which is, again, it's not gaming related. It's not specifically focused on gaming. It's focused on, frankly, from what I can tell from Meetup, they really just would like people, really good looking people who are riding bicycles a lot. That's really, it seems to be everything I can see in all of their advertising is it's good looking young folks on bicycles. So I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. But for the rest of us, we do want to put that feature in, and it's going to be quite soon. And I'm kind of drawing a blank at what we're looking at after that. Matt, what are we
friends and contacts? So that's kind of that thing. I'm
looking over that comes first, I guess. Yeah. Friends and contacts
all together
groups mostly. Yeah.
And then I think our next big feature is going to be, we're going to start offering industry news and like a news feed where different stuff from around. We're going to try to get all the different genres merged together, and so that you have one place to go for news as well, one place to kind of announce stuff.
I keep forgetting Matt's at the office and can see the whiteboard actually from where he's sitting. So yeah,
I'm kind of cheating.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, we definitely are thinking a little bit further down the road about getting into like some sort of news feed sort of thing. Not so much like a Facebook news feed, but like I said, like an industry kind of news feed sort of situation. And then we may even start where we've kicked around the idea of actually creating content and ourselves and kind of working that into it. But you know, that's going to be a little bit further down the road. But you know, so I work for Matt and the other partners, you know, and we do business. We build apps for other companies, and that's how we make our money. And this app we've been building on the side for quite some time. And so this is kind of our passion project, which is great. And but we also understand that we can't just do it for free. So that's why we're also going to be moving in some more features soon, which we'll be getting into monetization. So stores and users will always be able to use the app for free, but we're also going to have stores will be able to subscribe to the app, which will give them extra features like analytics, information that they generally wouldn't be able to find, you know, like and advertising opportunities and a lot of different things like that. Users will be able to support the app, which will help us to keep the app running, but will also give them special opportunities and special things and features and things like that in the app. And we've been road mapping those. We're also going to have some in-app advertising and things like that. But, you know, like if you become a supporter as a user, well, then it will take most of that advertising out. But we also want to have advertising directly aimed towards game manufacturers. So if you're Fantasy Flight and you've got some new board game and you want to advertise directly to board gamers, then we'd be able to send that information directly to the people who say like they like board games versus the people who like, say, CCGs or war games or whatever. Sure. So we're kind of looking at those options too. But that's kind of like those are the next things that are coming, and all of them are coming relatively quickly. Yeah.
Feature out right now is going to be eventually getting store check-ins and kind of a badging into it, so that a little bit of gamification, but a little bit so you can have some fun and kind of start tracking some of your own stats, how many board games you've been to, what you've been playing, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Just to add some fun and some more engagement in the app. Sure.
No, that's really cool. I really enjoy this app a lot. And I was going to evangelize a little bit, but I can already see that the two game stores that I would go to, actually 3, Chimera, when I'm in the Appleton area. Mm-hmm. And now I see that there are, I'd never heard of Boardlandia before. So that, I can be exposed to other game shops within traveling distance of me as well, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah, Boardlandia is actually right downtown, kind of not too far away from our offices.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Very nice. And I didn't realize that I live in the Wausau, Wisconsin area. I didn't realize that Marshfield had a game shop, and now I know.
See,
now you know.
Yeah. So this serves a number of different purposes, and I'm really psyched about this. Really psyched about this.
We worked to make it a very clean interface. We've kept it very simple. We've also decided, and I think it was a smart idea, frankly, we've decided to keep it operating system centric. So we didn't try to make, because the app is developed natively in both, we didn't build it in like one program and then have it make a version to each operating system, which is, you see a lot of that in development these days. We actually wrote it in each operating system's language, basically. So the Android app looks more like an Android app, and the Apple or the iOS app looks more like an iOS. So if you were sitting next to your friend and you each had, a phone from the differing operating systems, they're going to look a bit alike, but like the menus look a bit different, and the just little things like that, so that you're not like, because there's so many apps out there where you hit like a menu button, a thing pops up, and you're like, that's not a normal interaction. You know what I mean? Sure, like you tried to make it look like the other one. Like anytime you use a Google app these days on an iPhone, it looks like Android because they've gone through a lot of work, as it turns out, to make it do that. We're thinking of it, why reinvent the wheel? If you need to hit the menu, we'll just use the normal menu controls for whether it's iOS or Android. So we put a lot of thought. We did, and Matt touched on this before, they started working on the ideas and the research for the app a good 9 months to a year before I even started working for Milk Can, the company that's creating this. So yeah, there was a lot of research and a lot of axe sharpening that took place before we actually started programming. The actual programming, I think Matt started maybe just before Christmas of 2016. Wasn't it like last winter is when we actually started?
Last winter, about a year ago, I think, was when we finally started putting some code commits in. So, and we
wanted it to come out sooner, but the regular business that pays the bills has been quite busy. So, that's a good thing. But yeah, that's been something we've got to balance against, because we all got to eat. So that's why, but our plan is that someday we would hope to make it so that the app becomes the thing that we do, and the client work becomes less and less of a thing that we do. So that's kind of where we're looking right now.
Sure. No, that's such a great idea. And it's an app whose time has come, uniting introverts who game. And I've been kind of playing around a little bit with, excuse me, the concepts of Roll20, which, for those who aren't familiar, Roll20 is if you wanted to do essentially virtual gaming, kind of what we're doing right now. We are all talking using our computers. So if you want to do an RPG with people who aren't near you, that can't gather around a physical table with you, you can connect with them through the internet. And the concepts are, it's nice to know that you can put that out there. And Roll20 is more designed for RPGs, and this most certainly incorporates speaking with people who, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the app while I'm talking, speaking to people who are playing things that aren't RPGs, like you said, wargaming, collectible card games and stuff like that, but then finding a place where they can all gather physically to get together and actually do the thing, which is it's a great concept for people who aren't exactly extroverts, who don't it's a great digital way to gather these people to a place to do a thing that they all enjoy. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at it.
That's really the goal.
Yeah, we've definitely looked at it from the aspect of that what, like I said, one of the most difficult things about, I hear it all the time on my YouTube channel. People say, I'm really interested in Malifaux, let's say, as an example, not the big game that everybody plays in wargaming, but it's one of the smaller games and something like that. And I really like the concepts and I really like the models and they're great, but I don't know anybody in the area who plays.
Yeah.
What I mean? So there's, and that's the thing, because especially with, like with Magic, at least if you go to a shop, they probably have Friday Night Magic. So you can probably show up and that there's going to be a game going on and you're going to meet some people. But sometimes it's very difficult to meet. You can talk to this person behind the counter and say, so when do people come in and play this game or that game? And they'll be like, well, sometimes on this day, but not always. So the ability to, use the looking for players aspect of it and say, look, I want to play Malifaux and I would like to do it at one of these 3 shops that's nearby, and send me a message. Then that way someone sends you a message and says, yeah, I've been playing for X amount of years and I like this and that and the other thing and whatever. And then you guys hook something up and then play at one of those shops. You don't have to have somebody come over to your house, or you don't have to go over to some stranger's house or whatever. And then you can get together and play, and then maybe you become friends. And then, that's what we're really trying to foster. But the trick is being able to find it. Right now with Facebook, there are groups out there for different games, but like Matt said earlier, sometimes they're on the other side of the country, or sometimes it's hard to find. Everything in Facebook is so siloed, and we want it to just be one big gaming silo. And then you can filter your silo if you want to with the filters in the bottom of the app, but that's pretty much about it.
And with some of the changes that are coming with Facebook, it almost looks like they're trying to herd things so that if you have a page for your company, you're really not going to connect, and we're seeing a little bit of that now. You're not really going to connect with the people who like your page. You don't necessarily show up as much in their feed, and they seem to be kind of corralling things to making you pay to really talk to the people that like your page, which really sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been going on for quite some time. In any given post that I put on the Facebook page for my YouTube channel, only about a third of the people who like my page actually see it. So like any given time when I post something, I've got 60, 700 or something like that likes. I only about 2,000 people see it at best. So, but you can always boost it for $40 or whatever.
Yeah, and that's just to me, that's so. I mean, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're trying to make a buck, but that's just it's exasperating because it feels like they've been slowly pulling that rug out from underneath. Especially these small businesses. I mean, when you talk about gaming in and of itself is kind of niche.
Absolutely.
And you've been given now this thing, and back in 2010 or whatever, 2012, you had a lot better connection to the people that like your page, and over time, it's slowly been dropping. And even with working with the radio stations, looking at the analytics, our reach has gone to hell in the past year. And that's not because they're necessarily posting a lot of spammy stuff. It's just that's Facebook.
Yeah.
And that makes your ability to get the word out there that, hey, we're doing an event or something like that. It makes it that much harder as a small business owner who, the board gaming isn't always the most lucrative. It's hard to, what I'm trying to say, Glenn. to successfully run a game shop, you need to not just be a board game shop. You have to be a board game shop. You need to be an RPG shop. You need to do a collectible card game. You need to diversify, because at certain times of the year, your collectible card gaming won't be quite as popular, but your board gaming is. And, you've got that whole balancing act to do there. And then you got to deal with, trying to get the word out for things. And this wonderful thing that you've been given, Facebook, is slowly going, well, we've been doing this for you for free, but, and to slowly lose one of the biggest ways to connect with the people who are interested in your shop and the things that you do, to slowly lose that really sucks. So it's nice to, like I said before, this app kind of will help correct that, especially once we get, once you get out of your soft launch here and get into getting it out there and people using this app. So I see it being a wonderful thing for gamers all over, and not just the United States. So.
And we also want to make sure that we're also, I mean, we've already gone out and I've interviewed probably about a dozen different store owners in the Wisconsin area earlier this year. Earlier 2017, and talked and asked them questions about like and explained, like, this is what we're doing with the app. What are your thoughts about this? And we got a lot of really interesting information because, in the shop, in the milk can, the office, there's 7 of us. We're a real small company, and most everybody there is a tabletop gamer in some fashion. There's a couple, I think, that aren't exactly tabletop gamers, but they will be soon.
By God.
So there's that. But so we know what gamers want because we're gamers, but we don't know what store owners want because we're not store owners. So that's why we decided we need to go out and interview a bunch of different store owners. So we went to Madison and Green Bay and Manitowoc and Appleton and talked to a bunch of different store owners, and it gave us some really good information, and I think that was very useful. So that's what our big plan is that this is not just for gamers, though obviously the result is all for gamers, but we also want to make it so that store owners can get information out to their customers, and be able to do that kind of information. People want to know, like, if there are people who would play more games, probably buy more games if they could try out more games because they knew that Thursday night was board game night. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So we want to be able to take that, and that's one aspect of the app. But we also want the person who plays, some old like let's say Traveler, like some really old space RPG,
Sure.
and it's hard to find anybody around you that plays Traveler, but you put in an LFP looking for players and say, I'm looking to play old 3rd edition Traveler, and I've got all the books and blah 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 and all that stuff, and then somebody reaches out to you after a month and says, I haven't played Traveler in a long time, but I've got a friend and he used to play Travelers too, and now the 3 of you start playing, and that kind of stuff is very difficult to find in any other app out there. You can't just throw up a thing on Facebook and say, hey, I'm looking to play, you know what I mean? Because you have to find the right silo to put it into. And it's, you could put it into, I'm sure there's a Traveler page on Facebook, but you might get somebody who wants to play with you who's on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
yep. And, I keep thinking about a friend of mine got in on Kickstarter for Steve Jackson's re-release of Ogre.
Yeah, I did that too.
And so when I say that to you, how that box is freaking heavy and huge.
Yeah, I tried to store it under the bed in our guest room, and it won't go under the bed. It's too big.
When you tell somebody that this Ogre box is big, they're like, oh, no, it's huge.
It's 27 pounds.
You could put at least...
That's what it said on the FedEx thing. 27 pounds.
You could put like 10 babies in it. I mean, it's it's huge. But Rob's biggest thing is he got the box of Ogre in, and it wasn't cheap, that's for sure. And he hasn't been able to play it because nobody wants to. I'm not a person that will sit down and play a board game that will take 8 to 10 hours to play. I don't have that discipline. And I know Rob would love to play the game, but having the ability to use your app to say, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and maybe you can get some people to come play, and maybe you can finally dust off that box and play the game that he made a major investment in.
Yeah, well, it's like Twilight Imperium. I don't know many people who. I mean, I'm sure there are game groups here and there, groups of friends who get together and play Twilight Imperium. I only ever see it played at conventions, because that's usually when you can find enough people who get together and they have 6 hours to burn. So, you go to a convention like Fire and Ice in Manitowoc. I almost always see it there. I usually see it at Gamapalooza in Oshkosh. Back when I used to run OshCon, there was always a group that would get together and play it. And it's a long game. You're talking 6 people, probably 6 hours. And, it's difficult to find those people. But if you could say, look,
right here on the app, there's a guy who wants to play Twilight Imperium.
See, there you go.
Nice.
So, if that person can hook up with some other people who've got a Sunday afternoon and want to play like in a local shop, and the local shop's cool with it, and you go to the local shop and buy snacks while you're there and all that kind of stuff, everybody wins. So,
yep. No, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of talk about some of the other things that we normally talk about on the show. And we're going to talk just a little bit more about the GameFor app. Glenn, I feel. Oh yes, Adam.
I was just going to say, if you're looking for the GameFor app, and you're looking in your local app store, whether it's Android or iOS, if you just type in GameFor, GAMEFOR, as in what are you game for? Sometimes if you type in GameFor and then tabletop, or if you put it at GameFor in quotes, or maybe you type in GameFor an event, you're more likely to find it. Otherwise, you can go to our website, which is www.iamgamefor.com. And again, that's IAMGAMEFOR.com. There you go.
Yes. And when talking with Matt, that's how you got me to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Easiest way to do it, because the Apple search, and surprisingly, the Play Store, even though Google built its empire on search, is not the best search.
You're not wrong.
Type in GameFor into the Google Play Store, you may not find it, because there's so much stuff in both the game stores, both the app stores.
In all honesty, that's what I did first. I typed in GameFor as we were talking, Matt, and I'm like, oh, I'm not finding it. And then I went and actually surfed to the page on the phone, and then that's how I got to it.
I never used the search in either of the stores. I would always just use Google and be like, GameFor app. Boom, there it is.
Yep.
That's because you're a smart man, Glenn. That's what it is. Far smarter than I. Speaking of which, Glenn, you found a game that I've not heard of before, but I'm willing to bet it has something to do with trees. What is that game?
The reason you haven't heard of it is because it only came out 4 weeks ago.
Well.
This would be called, it's Ancestry. This one, like I said, released about 4 weeks ago. Is from Eric Lang, who is kind of one of the golden childs of gaming right now. He did Blood Rage and just a whole bunch of other stuff. So his name is pretty big up there. This is from Calliope Games as part of their Titans of Gaming Kickstarter series that we talked about like 3 years ago on the however long ago we started talking. Probably like episode like probably in the teens. This one usually about 20 to 40 minutes, 2 to 6 players, retails for about $30. What it is, it's a tile laying game. Actually, it's a tile drafting game where you are building your own personal family tree. So each round you select 6 tiles, or you randomly draw 6 tiles, and you're going to take one, place it face down in front of you, and then pass your remaining tiles to the left. And everyone's doing this all at the same time, thus the drafting aspect. You'll then reveal what you played, and you add it to your family tree based on different connections it may have. Those connections can be, there are leaves that let you move your tree up and down, so, people have children and so on. Or there are hearts that you can connect between 2 people to create marriages. The way you score points is there are several ways. One is that some of the tokens have coins on them. At the end of each of the 3 rounds, you'll get points for those coins. For marriages, at the end of the game, you score bonus points by the more marriages you have, the more points is with. And it's a growing scale, going from like 1, if you have 1 point, if you have 1 marriage, to I had 5, so I think 10 points. And if you get like 9, it's like 35 points, which is huge in the game, seeing as the highest score I've seen total in the game so far I've played is like 81. So if you can score 35 just from one aspect, that's huge. The other way you score points is that there are 5 different lineages basically you can have. And they're kind of set up as nationalities. There's like an African, there's an Asian, there's kind of your stereotypical white dudes in Europe. There's Native Americans, and I'm forgetting somebody. Can't remember who the other one is. I'm just forgetting it because I'm a bad person. But doesn't matter as far as nationality go. As far as who you have, you can have 2 white dudes can have an African child. That's fine, and two dudes can marry each other if the hearts line up. So that doesn't matter. But then scoring points is based on each run. You look at who has the longest unbroken lines of specific lineages. So if I have the longest of say the lions, which is the white dudes, if I have like 4 of them in my line and it's a line going down your tree. So if you just have a whole bunch of people all across the straight thing of, here's 5 brothers, that counts only as 1 line, because it's every branch down the tree, the generation you go. So it's the generation that has to be unbroken generations. So if you have if you start with, the dragons, which are the Asians at the top, and then they have a white guy, and then below that is another Asian, that only counts as 1 because they're broken in between. Sure. So you score based on your neighbors of whether you have more than your neighbors. So it doesn't matter what, if we're playing a 5-player game, the person across him from me, I don't care what he has. I'm only comparing the 2 people next to me. If I have more than them in each round in different lineages, I score points for that. And the first round, you get 1 point for each person you beat. And the second round, you get 2 points for each person you beat. And the third round, you get 3 points. And it's pretty nifty. It's a lighter game. It's definitely a light game. And like I said, it's 20 to 40 minutes. And 40 minutes means you're playing with 6 players.
Wow.
Yeah, I showed this off at, actually, one of my staff members was showing it off at our staff meeting today so other people could learn it. And we had 4 players, and we played through it in 20 minutes. So, and that's with 3 people, 3 of the people learning the game for the first time ever. So, but it's a nice lighter play game that still has enough depth to it. I like some of the drafting games. I like the drafting aspect where you have to pay attention to what's the person I'm handing this to doing, and I'm like, man, he's got a really long line of the Native Americans right now, and it's almost as long as mine. Do I really want to pass him this other Native American? I don't really need this guy, though, do I? What's worth more to me? Preventing him from getting more than me, or using this guy I don't really need that much? And that's kind of the balance, and I like that because it makes you constantly think about every play you make. So, nifty little game.
Yeah, it looks like a very fun, nice, like a quick pickup type game.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy the fact, like you mentioned, that one of the hardest things about opening up a brand new game and getting a bunch of people is everybody kind of feeling their way through, reading the directions as you play. And a game that's supposed to take like 40 minutes takes 2 hours. I mean, it happens, and that's fine. But it's a little, once you get through it, you're like, oh, okay, that was really easy. And then the next time you do it, it's, at least half the time. So it's really cool that just out of the box, it's not going to take, that much extra time. You're going to be able to get in there, play the game, and maybe play another round.
And I will say that this, I've only experimented a little with that. We haven't played like a lot, but my general impression of the gameplay is this is one of those games where it says, hey, it's 2 to 6 players. Drafting games generally aren't a ton of fun with 2 people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't played it a lot at that level. I've only played 1 2-player game, but it was just kind of seeing how it works. And yeah, one is you lose a whole bunch of scoring opportunities because now I have only one neighbor, so there's the 1% to pay attention to, and it's easy to so he's just going for Asians and Americans. I'll go with Arabs and the Europeans, and that way you're just kind of like, I'm just scoring my points, he's scoring his points, and now who can just get the most coins is basically the thing. So it really changes the dynamic because I think you really want at least 3. I think it's going to play best with 4 or more, because that way you have that break in that I'm not scoring against everyone, I'm scoring against only some people. So I don't have to pay attention to what one person is doing mostly, but
sure.
Because you still want to, it's like, this guy, if I pass this and the person next to me passes it, that guy's going to take it. I know he is. Of course, that's what happened. But yeah, so like I said, it's got some good depth, but like a lot of games, don't believe everything you read on the box.
Fair enough. All right. Again, that game is Ancestry by Calliope Titan. Titans of Game.
Calliope is the company. Titans of Gaming was the Kickstarter that they did, where they had a whole bunch of they were releasing 3 games a year for 3 years. Okay.
Yep. I remember that now. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, 20 to 40 minutes to play and $30. That's right in that definite sweet spot that we talk about for games, and to have $30 for a game that can accommodate up to 6 people. That's amazing. Yeah, it is. It really is. All right. Well, thank you, Glenn.
Absolutely.
Just want to talk quickly about Die Hard Dice. If you use the coupon code Adventure Party, all one word, when you do your checkout, you get an additional 10% off of your order. And Die Hard Dice has done something. They've kind of released another color in their. What's the best way to describe it? If you're like me and you roll dice on a table, they probably go everywhere, especially when you're really excited and something's about to kill you and you need to block, you need to do defense, or you need to get away. You roll those dice and they're hell and gone all over the table. They have basically the most portable dice box, I guess is the best way to dice rolling box that you could ever own. And it snaps at the corners. So you literally, it goes from being flat, you snap the corners together, and now you've got a place to safely roll your dice where it's not going to end up in somebody else's glass of water. And they've just released a new color, which is like this royal blue kind of velvet interior to this thing. And it is absolutely gorgeous. And they've released this along with a new set of sapphire blue dice. So check it out. It's dieharddice.com. Todd and his wife and his team there, they do a great job taking care of people who order from them. So I highly recommend them. dieharddice.com, and use the coupon code Adventure Party, all one word, when you check out for an additional 10% off your order. All right. Excuse me. Let's talk again with the guys of GameFor.
Yeah.
And just a kind of a side note, Matt, that Jason, is that Jason Hillary?
No, it's a different Jason. Jason
okay.
Stevenson.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering because I knew that you were working with him on some stuff in the past. I wasn't sure if that was the same Jason.
Yep. No, different Jason. There's a lot of Jason.
Fair enough. If when you were thinking about this app, was this before Adam came on board? Or doing an app like this?
Initially, the app idea came pre-Adam, but I think when we were introduced to Adam, I think it was Joel's friend of a friend. That's how we got in touch with Adam. We were looking for another designer to have on staff, and on top of just all the stuff that Adam brought from us to our milk can brand for designing websites and mobile apps, had already into the gaming world, specifically with war gaming and miniatures that Jason and I didn't already have. Joel didn't have because we were more of the board games. At the time, X-Wing was as close as I come to miniatures.
Sure.
I had RPG'd in the past, but yeah, learning how to paint 5,000 minis and put them on a table with measuring tapes, that was a foreign thing to me. So that definitely, intrigued us even more to bring Adam along. And I definitely don't think we would be where we're at today with as strong of a product that kind of spoke to that genre as well without having, Adam's input on board. So,
plus at this point now, Jason, one of the other partners, he's got a, frankly, very nicely painted 1,000-point Sylvaneth army for Age of Sigmar. So, I mean, I would like to think that I was able to, at least to some degree, help because he had been painting, what's the game? Imperial Assault. He started painting the Star Wars game, Imperial Assault, and then he and I started talking a lot more about it as I was working there and all that stuff. And then now we play Age of Sigmar, and he's got a very nicely painted Sylvaneth army, and is now looking into historicals as well. So wow. Yeah, it's. I mean, when I first interviewed there, and I've been a web designer in my day job for, oh Lord, 20 years. That's scary. Oh, wow. My first professional. I just thought of that actually a couple days ago. My first job working as a professional web designer, like day to day, not just a freelancer, was in 1998. So I've been doing it for a long time. But yeah, so when I first was kind of interviewed there and then came in to start working, and then they started talking about this app, and when we started sitting down and like kind of really starting to hammer out what we wanted to do with it and go from there, it's been a big group effort, and it's not just the three partners and me. There's also a couple other there's three other developers as well. We've got a guy who's predominantly iOS, another one who's predominantly Android, and then we've also got a web developer who's been basically doing the back end that stores will be able to use, because the store portal will be web and not phone. Yeah. Because when the stores are sitting there at the store, they don't want to pull out a phone to try to enter information into what events are coming up. They're going to do it on a laptop generally or whatever. So that's what's coming. That's probably the next thing that's going to be coming is the store portal. So yeah, it's been a group effort, and we've all been working on it at different times. Like I said, in between the normal paying gigs that we do, but it's just really I've really been enjoying kind of seeing the public start to use it a bit more and to see that use. And we, like I said, have really not started even marketing it yet. This is the first podcast, honestly, that we've done, but we'll be, I'm sure, doing a lot more. And we want to just talk to as many people about it as possible and really get it out there for the gamers.
No, cool. I guess, Matt, my question to you is, as you were kind of, you guys were initially sitting down and thinking about this, when you got Adam on board, did he like shine a light on a number of things that you went, oh my God, I totally didn't think about that?
I don't think there was anything that was a major, like, oh my gosh, we didn't think about that. But he I would say the biggest thing was maybe the store owner perspective.
Sure.
I don't think we had focused on the local store as much as we have now. I think it was always kind of it'd be nice to have local stores, but we didn't have the three of us to have anyone, a friend was running a store already, where Adam kind of had that going for it. So we didn't have that perspective.
I think I came up with the name. I think that you and I, we were sitting next to each other. Jason was writing something on the not on the whiteboard, but on one of the windows. And then I think that was when we were sitting there and we were talking about something. And I said something about and I asked the question of what are you game for? And then I was like, GameFor. And I swear to God, you and I were sitting next to each other when we did that. But
we did that. And then I think that's also when we realized it was either that conversation or one right that same week where we realized that we both knew Glenn and Brad and everything.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I totally did not even realize that I had listened to Adam on Adventure Party until it was like 6 months into.
That's right. That's right. All of a sudden, wait, I think I heard you on the podcast. I was like, oh yeah.
Well, that's very cool.
Have you told your listeners about this yet, Adam?
Yeah, like I said, I did about 2 weeks ago on the live show. Okay. I only mentioned in the live show so far. I haven't really done a dedicated video yet, but I'm going to do one soon as we get a little bit further along. As soon as I think sometime after we get stores opened up and everything like that, and then I want to definitely just do a dedicated video, because the live videos that I do on every other Sunday, after they're done, like this one, I assume they become a recording that people can watch. But because they're the videos I do are 2 hours, not more viewers watch my Friday videos or my whatever regular day of the week videos, let's say, than the Sunday ones. What happens a lot of times with the Sunday ones is they become a little podcasty like this, where basically there's a chat and I answer questions. And then people just listen to it while they paint or hobby. Sure. That's the thing. That's one of the benefits as a wargaming channel that I've got, is I can make a 2-hour video, which a lot of in normal YouTube, you couldn't make a 2-hour video and expect people to sit and listen to it or watch it for the entire time usually. But with wargamers, we're sitting there and we're hobbying, we're painting, we're building, we're gluing, and we want to have something to listen to. So if it's just me as a talking head answering questions and whatnot, people will listen to it all the way through. But that being said, I'm going to do a dedicated video about it, and then that'll be the next step. But then we're going to get into, like I said, doing as many podcasts as we can do, and all of the other kind of marketing that we've got planned. We've got a convention schedule that we're working on right now, and we're looking at a bunch of different places to spend money. I mean, it's going to take, it takes money to make money. So we are obviously looking at social media, which can tend to be sort of considered to be free, but it's not really.
Yeah.
But then there's also, other actual things. I don't know that you're going to see us in a magazine anytime soon, because I'm not super keen on the concept of getting into print, just because I just don't believe it. There are some magazines out there that you're going to find for gamers, but you guys know as well as I do that most of the gamers that you know and that I know, and including ourselves, we generally are finding most of our information on one of these things. Yep. Or or on the PC or whatever. Whoop, my battery just died on my light.
Oh.
It just got dark.
Lights out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and word of mouth. We're hoping that everybody kind of has that experience where they want to use it, and then they want all their friends to use it, and start getting everybody involved. Because really, the app becomes the most useful with more people using it. So as we get more people involved, more stores involved, hopefully the app should just keep growing with it.
And the analogy I've used a bunch of times is the person with the first fax machine had nobody to fax, so it didn't have any use. You know what I mean? So, some of the feedback that we've gotten from people is they're like, well, I downloaded the app, but there's no events in it and stuff like that. And we're like, well, yeah, it's a social network. It takes time to build momentum and stuff. The fact that we've got all the stores
first.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll be one of the first, and you'll be able to help and talk to your local stores and go through that stuff. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, one of the big things that we want people to be able to do, especially once we open it up to stores to be able to control their accounts, we want users to go into local stores and go, look, there's this app. If you contact these guys, you'll be able to put your events in there for free, and then they'll show up to other players. And if you start telling more of your customers about this app, you can tell them directly what's going on at your store on any given day. And that will help to help drive business and that kind of stuff. Because, this, Glenn, store owners aren't doing it for free. I mean, you've got to eat and buy games.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen me. It's in that order.
All right. Well, that's fair.
All right. What we're gonna do, I think we're gonna skip the games, the Kickstarter spotlight.
Yeah,
I think we're hitting that hour range here. So I think what we're gonna do is we are going to wrap things up here, and then let you guys give out your information again, so that people can find the app, find you, and what you do, and then we'll close it out. So if you'd like to chat with one of the hosts or other listeners of this Galactic Network podcast, 24 hours a day, you can go to gncasts.com/signup, and we'll add you to our Slack team. You'll have the ability to interact with us in real time, as Matt Ridley and I did when he contacted me about GameFor and coming on the show. So what we can do, again, is just have you go to gncasts.com/signup, and we can get you on that Slack team setup. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, and more, you can go to gncasts.com/adventure. If you have a question or a comment about anything that you've heard on this Galactic Network podcast, you can email adventure@gncasts.com. You can leave a voicemail message or a text message by calling the number 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966. Or you can go to gncasts.com/contact. And we do read, listen to, and appreciate any and all of your feedback. Please subscribe to this. Excuse me. Please subscribe to this Galactic Network podcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe, or you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or anywhere podcasts are offered. And last but not least, I want to give thanks to Mark Wooldridge, the composer of this music theme, the opening theme and the closing theme for the show. He has a shindig or a website that you can go to. His composing work, he works through the Central Battery Music Works, so check that out. I want to thank you guys again, and I want to give you a chance to talk about your particular individual enterprises. And Adam, where can people find you?
Well, my YouTube channel, if you go to youtube.com/tabletopminions, I talk about the wargaming hobby and the miniature painting and building and all that kind of stuff, with a focus on people getting into the hobby, bringing new people into the hobby, beginners, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my thing. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and a bunch of other places. And for GameFor, our website is, again, www.iamgamefor. That's GAMEFOR.com. And you can find us there. You can also find the apps on both the Google Play Store and the iOS App Store. And so you can download them. We try to update the apps pretty much once every week to 2 weeks. And like I said, we've got quite a roadmap of what new features that are coming soon. So check it out and tell your gaming friends about it, and the stores too. So
yeah, I will be showing off your app to the Wednesday night game group. So make sure that that my folks are all on board for that. Matt, where can people find out more about what you do?
So besides GameFor, I'm also on Milkcan, which is my company, which is Milkcan, milkcan.io. That's our website if you need any apps or websites designs. We do a lot of that stuff and build stuff like GameFor. So hopefully you can come to us and drop us a line.
Excellent. And Glenn, rounding things out, where can people find out more about you, your movie review channel on YouTube, and your not just Mist Runner now?
Yeah. You can find out more about me. I'm on Facebook with Demon Eater the RPG, Mist Runner the RPG, Apocalypse Howl, the never going to be published or finished because I have too many things on my plate card game. The B Movie Bunker and Guy in a Bunker Productions, both on Facebook and on YouTube for my movie reviews. Astro Radio Z and the Film Jerks, and Special Mark Productions, where I do a lot of the Spoiler Room, where I do a lot of my movie reviews. Follow me at Twitter, on Twitter at Guy in a Bunker, or you can find me on this new GameFor app. I'm on there as well with the games I like to play.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to Apocalypse Howl. You do need to finish that, sir.
Yes,
I do.
I've enjoyed what I've played, and that was kind of earlier stage when I played too. So
maybe playtest this weekend up in Point.
Yes, absolutely. Sign me up. I will definitely do that.
All right.
I'm looking forward to that.
Is there a convention in Point?
It's an impromptu gathering of friends.
Nice.
It's basically like the old college crowd getting back together. It's our trivia team.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Those are always fun.
So, yeah. Looking forward to that. I guess we're at the end here. Thank you so much for joining us at the Adventure Party. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.